Awake, rise, break free from dead lies. Old system dies tonight. Chains fall as truth ignites the fight. Awakening surges. The sleeper sees first light. Render to Caesar what is Caesar's alone. To God what is God's on the silent throne. Seek the void. Forge on. Go. Shatter now. Old cage cracks and breaks. Consensus lies dissolve. Welcome the unknown. Let fear resolve. Forge new paths where no map has ever been drawn. Render to Caesar what is Caesar's alone. To God what is God's on the silent throne. Seek the void. Forge on. Go. Silence. Call. Build bridge. Cross the wall. Destroy their scripted tales. Shape your own reality. Unveiled. Ignore the system. It's nothing but hollow whales. Breathe deep. Heart pounds in the deep. Unknown calls your true name. Break every chain in freedom's flame. You are the author, the end and the start of the game. Cast off the old world and walk through the fire untamed. Render to Caesar what is Caesar's alone. To God what is God's on the silent throne. Seek the void. Forge on. Go. Forge. Dim light on the mic, shadows start to crawl. Paranormal whispers echo through the hall. Military minds and ancient bloodlines blend, where the veil is thin and the truth won't bend. Stargates humming in the desert night. Sumerian demons dancing in the fight. Remote viewing psyops, mind control machines. Sean's digging deeper where the unseen screams. From Ukraine fires to invisible wars, Lucy stressed rituals behind closed doors. Pazuzu laughing the Nunaki call. The glass is dark, but we see it all. Through a glass darkly, peering into night, where fiction turns to fact and wrong becomes right. Paranormal meets the battlefield's edge. National secrets on the razor's ledge. Rise through the darkness, break the hidden seals. Through a glass darkly, this is how it feels. This is how it feels. Interviews with warriors who walk the line. Remote influences twisting space and time. Dragon bloodlines, hauntologies, games. Skinwalker shadows calling out your name. Geopolitics twisted with the occult thread. Writing worlds where the living meet the dead. Financial freedom in a world gone mad. Building empires while the sleepers stay unaware. Ed Dane's legacies and psychic warfare plays. Mind viruses spreading through the haze. From ninja suits to the unseen fray. The podcast cuts through the fog and gray. Through a glass darkly, peering into night, where fiction turns to fact and wrong becomes right. Paranormal meets the battlefield's edge. National secrets on the razor's ledge. Rise through the darkness, break the hidden seals. Through a glass darkly, this is how it feels. Not just stories, it's the hidden war between the spirit realm and what we saw. Hazlett holding up the mirror, cracked and true, showing us dimensions bleeding into view. No more veils, no more silent nights. We chase the signal through electric lights. Through a glass darkly, we refuse to kneel, chasing demon secrets and the real. From military fiction to the cosmic wheel, the truth is stranger than the tales we feel. Through a glass darkly, lift the veil, ignite. Through a glass darkly, step into the light. Through a glass darkly, peering through the dark. The glass is cracking. Let the truth spark. Delete the machines. Ticks in the tall grass, poison in the vein. Lab-born fever dreams riding on the rain. They called it a pandemic, locked the world in chains, while the suits kept counting, stacking up their gains. Psychological sterilization, numbing out the fire. Screens and silent signals killing young desire. Birth rates crashing, spirits in decline. A quiet war on bloodlines, one injection at a time. Bubbles popping, hyperinflation breath. Empty shelves and broken dreams dancing with death. Wars in Ukraine, fires over Iran, feeding the machine with the blood of every man. Rise up, before the silence wins. Delete the machine, let the nightmare end. Total control, it's choking out your dreams. Rise up, tear apart the seams. shells and broken dreams dancing with death. Wars in Ukraine, fires over Iran, sacrificing nations for their master plan. Rise up before the silence wins. Delete the machine, let the nightmare end. Total control is choking out your dreams. Rise up, tear apart the seams. They own the banks, they own the wars. They own the needles, they own the laws. But they don't own the fire burning in our veins. We were born for freedom, not eternal chains. No more compliance, no more quiet graves. The hour is late, but the spirit still saves. Suffocates your dreams. Flames of folly paint the ashen skies. Disintegration pulls at every thread. Destruction howls where the living tread. Yet through the smoke, a silent feather falls and now cuts the darkness, answering the call. Born from the thunder god, splitting head. Armored in wisdom, no fear, no dread. Ode to Athena, goddess of the wise owls. Overhead, bring the signs we prize. Synchronicities dance in the midnight hour. Communication through the veil, your sacred power. Who once for the past, twice for what will be. Precognition gleaming in eyes that see. Mystical encounters like the broken art. You forge renewal in the human heart. In the human heart. I spoke to your owls beneath the olive tree. Golden eyes reflecting what the soul can see. They turn their heads 360 round, delivering wisdom without a single sound. Thinning veils and scattered deja vu. Your messages arrive, precise, uncanny, true. I whispered questions to the velvet black, and answers came on wings that never crack. No brutal Aries rage, but strategy refined. Your aegis shields the mind when all else is blind. From Zeus' skull you rose, spear gleaming bright, teaching us to weave new order from the night. Ode to Athena, in the ashes we stand. Owls flying low across this blighted land, delivering wisdom that the ancients knew. Renewal rising as we listen to you. Through the veil we commune, soul to soul. Precognition making broken spirits whole. In times of falling, your wisdom calls. Athena, guide us as the new world dawns. Hoot softly now, the veil is thin. Oh, to Athena, let renewal begin.
Welcome to Through a Glass Darkly Live. You are listening to, at least the intro song was Mark of the Doomslayer by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. And I'm going to defer the Lutnick portion until the latter part of this, because I think most people, if they look subtly at the title, are going to know that Rich Geldreich is also here. So I think with that, or without further ado, I'm gonna, and the reason Rich is on here is because he was there with me, so I want to keep myself honest. Anyway, without further ado, welcome to Rich Geldreich. Let's do that.
Sean, thank you so much for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I need somebody to keep me honest.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, he called me like 10 o'clock last night. He's like, you gotta come on, keep me honest. I'm like, dude, I'm busy. I'm shipping code. I can't. But he's like, you got to. Like, yeah, this is historical. What's happening? It's very historical.
Yeah, so I think the best way to go about this is just, I do have the, behind about 17 other tabs, I do have the access to the agenda.
Yeah, I have the website up here too. You can just search
share
for Disclosure Forum.
Yeah, I'll just share it really quick. Where are we? Here we go. This is it.
Yeah, and for me, it was old hat. Nothing. I don't think anything they said really surprised me, right? Because we've been I don't know. I'm not being negative. I'm saying, like, I'm so familiar with the topic that very little, surprised me. That doesn't mean it's bad or anything.
Well, so, like, the surprises didn't really come from the content. It came from kind of the meta content.
Yeah,
right.
There were some hints in there and stuff like that. That kind of corroborated some things I already know, stuff like that.
100%. However, I do want to make note that I think Rich and I can't speak for Rich, but I can speak for myself. And I'm going to curse here a little bit, but we did experience the biggest circle jerk of a shit show when it came to cafeterias. And like, I mean that sincerely.
I want to make sure everybody knows. Listen, I thought what happened was awesome. It was amazing. I was tweeting it live and I was putting videos up. I know exactly what Sean's talking about. It was actually incredible to go to the Senate building, to go into that historic location. Even going to the basement was neat. The cafeteria wasn't. The tunnels. The cafeteria was chaos, pure chaos and insanity. But
Rich, let me just tell you, I've been in cafeterias where people are screaming at me, "Eat it now, taste it later."
If the worst we have to say is the cafeteria,
this is the worst we have to say. I'm going to start with
no. Listen, what Sean and I were expecting was them to wheel out a gray and a gurney, right? With men in white suits, with the ice, and stuff, and bring out the gray, and we wouldn't believe it anyway. Even if they wheeled out a gray, we'd be like, there's no way this is real. No, we're joking. I'm joking. Like,
but we're not joking about the cafeteria. It was
I didn't have any expectations, but I was actually very impressed overall with the whole thing. They had some audio video problems initially, and
that kind of goes with the territory, though, right?
The reps were commenting that it was suspicious, and they worked there. Hey, they worked there, and I thought it was awfully odd. I mean, come on. It's not the Disclosure Forum's, fault, whatever. From what I understand, it was the personnel that, run that building or whatever are having some issues. So maybe, or maybe the boys at the CIA, like Luna, Representative Luna's hinted at. Maybe
Luna got it the worst.
Luna got it the worst. It was random. That's the thing. If it was just completely out, all right, fine, right? But it was just like random, like some chaos agent was in there turning it on and off, and people were complaining on X Live that they couldn't hear anything. So I started to post videos live, or semi-live anyway, and photos and things like that. But I was super impressed by this.
This is Loward Hutnick, Visitor of Islands. You can probably figure that out. I guess it was the phenomenon, maybe, or it was the government. Although he posted that before we even talked about that.
Actually, disclosure's happening according to them, and in the psychology session, the panel. It's happening right now.
session, but we'll get to that. So let's
Yeah.
at least go down the list. I don't have that much video, but I have some video.
I have some video I've posted already.
Yeah. So just look out, Richard. If you just mention your Twitter account, which has like 1 billion followers.
Yeah, it's Rich Gel 999. Easy to find. Rich Gel 999, one word.
All right. So anything to add about like the opening address? Chris Mellon was there to deliver it. I mean,
I think a higher level meta. Yeah, the higher level meta thing is that it's clear that the individuals involved in this are more experienced now. This is not their first rodeo anymore. I went to several Soul I went to a Soul conference and to be completely honest, the vibe was completely different versus Soul conference for me anyway. So this was a much healthier, in my opinion, experience for sure. What just happened brought a lot of legitimacy or more legitimacy to the topic. Like going to the Senate building and seeing the representatives speak up there. And I got the feeling too, they understand more about what they can be open about and what they're not, going to say. They seem much more relaxed than previously. So like it was open to the public, right? So anybody live could take a photo, take a video and post it while they're in there. So there's no stress over, am I going to be kicked out? Is the bodyguard, is the bouncer going to come and kick me out because I'm posting pictures of stupid slides?
My experience was the complete opposite. It was like military PTSD. I mean, it was just like standing in line for an hour and a half.
That's the process. I was in front of them and I kept telling them, dude, just chill. They're going to have a seat for you. Sean kept saying, if I go to stand, I'm walking out. I'm like, just chill, man. Just chill. They did a great job. They did a wonderful job.
No, I'm not saying plenty of seating. I'm just saying, like, it was, there's just a different vibe. The easiest way to bottom line it is Soul had an academic vibe with all the warts and positive impacts and collegiality, and this had a government vibe with all the warts and the pos. So like security stuff, yeah, they're going to be on top of security, but as they should be. But it's still like, beating a dead horse.
Yeah, but I still felt way more welcome at this than I did at the Soul conference, right? And it wasn't anything specific to me. It was just the audience was immediately told, you're not allowed to take photos. We'll remove you. We'll call the campus police. And it's like, whoa, what? that happened quick. What the hell happened, right? It was just ridiculous. Like, people are going to bring their phones in, bro. Come on. So, yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. I'm a total cheerleader. Keep in mind, though, I'm grounded, though, that this is an 85, whatever it is, maybe hundreds of years old cover up at this point, right? It's at least 85 or so years old, and they're trying to break it. There's
a weird vibe in the audience too.
They're trying to break this. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
There were some plants in the audience, and I don't know what plants they were, but they were plants. So
yeah, but I don't think it had anything to do with disclosure form. It was just random. Remember, it's open to the public. Random, anybody could go in.
Yeah, I can't speculate on what it was, but it was weird. I'll just tell the story, Rich, about like there was this tall blonde woman right behind me. Like I couldn't even see her. And my friend, I won't mention his name, but he was sitting on my left. And he's just like, you realize there's like this woman behind us that looks like she's completely out of place and, is here. So he immediately turns to her and says, hi, my name is so-and-so. And she looked like a grizzly bear was about to maul her. Like she had been exposed or something like that.
Yeah,
and he's like, well,
trained well for this.
what brings you here? And her answer was the answer that no one who's watching this live stream would ever deliver in any context, which was, oh, I'm an interested member of the public. Who says that unless you're a Fed or a hybrid? Or you know what I mean? Like I'm an interested member.
Even the hybrid would know to say something different.
Right? Like I'm an interested member of the public, an interested member of the public.
She kept to the script. She kept to the script. Come on.
And then she started talking about I don't think the population is ready for it's just she had like a slightly autistic vibe, but not really. And tall blonde hair, blue eye, Nordic type. Okay. And she said something to the effect of like, I don't think that the population is ready based on how they behaved in COVID. To which my friend immediately responded, I don't think that
she might be right. I think honestly, what I was going to say is if the cover up gets broken too quickly, if disclosure accelerates too rapidly, then we risk, people holding themselves up in a mountain with guns going crazy potentially. There's a certain subset of the public which might go crazy hearing this, and that should be taken seriously.
We'll talk about their assessment and analysis on that when we get to the psychological.
Yeah, but their assessments change though, versus what I heard at SCU at one of their events a few years ago from Dr. Alexander Wendt, and it seems to have changed. And they're more
that guy doesn't believe other humans are in remotely the same universe as he is. That was my impression.
He seemed very professional, but he did seem quite conservative on disclosure. He basically was like, no, people are going to hole up in the hills and they're going to start shooting people if we disclose.
I think we're going to get there before we get to disclosure. It's going so slowly. I think we're almost. I think we're pretty close to that right now, and not because it has nothing to do with disclosure.
I think
it just has,
my personal take on this is they're going so slowly, so carefully that by the time disclosure actually happens and the president says, Roswell's real, nothing's going to happen. Very few people believe it. If the government said the sky is blue, it's not blue. Nobody believes the government. And since Epstein, nobody especially.
Do you see that comment? I mean, she's got a point. I'm not.
Listen. Wait, I'll be honest. When Sean and I were going to this, we're like, this is going to be a dog and pony show. I mean, they're going to do a song and dance, and I think they did a great job. And
they did. They
did a great job. You got to admit. Listen, we're wandering the Senate building, tweeting live. Come on. That's awesome. Yeah. I think it's neat.
Yeah. Look, it was.
Yes, they can get crazier. They can hoard even more toilet paper. Yes, they can. If the preppers are told, if the hardcore, super hyper religious preppers are told that Roswell aliens are real, the Greys are real, who knows how they'll respond, right? Maybe they'll be fine, whatever. Maybe they'll get more canned food or something. I don't know. But most likely, by the time disclosure happens, if they do this right, BAU, nothing will change. Look, so far, has anything really changed?
I had to ask him what that was. Business as usual.
Yeah, BA, business as usual.
They're trying to boil the frog. They're trying to boil the frog.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And right now they're going so slowly that the frog's like, it's cool, everything's fine, right? It's starting to get really hot, bubbling just a teeny tiny bit.
She's not wrong. I'm not going to delve into.
Actually, I have perspective dating back many, many, many decades here on this. What has happened, historically speaking, is incredibly significant. We're sitting in a Senate building with government figures, and representatives talking about active UFO flaps over U.S. military bases. This is completely different vibe than when I grew up.
Isn't it the same place, the same room where they had hearings of the
Titanic hearing? I think
Kennedy
several
assassination.
Yeah, several other major hearings happened.
Several other
and by the way, it was the 79th anniversary plus 1 day to the Kenneth Arnold sighting. 79 years exactly to when it majorly appeared in newspapers. It was June 25th, 1947. That's when it appeared in newspapers big time. So this is a significant thing that's happening here. We're jaded. All of us alive.
By the
way,
all those things were conspiracies. Even the Titanic, right? They one conspiracy about the Titanic was that the kind of the banking kind of Brahmins in the United States basically sank the Titanic to eliminate people who were against implementing the Federal Reserve System. Which was implemented in 1913.
There's deeper than that. Wait, it's deeper than even than that, Sean. There's supposedly, and I don't follow this super closely, but the ship that actually sunk, supposedly, some say was the Olympic, if I remember right, the RMS
something
Olympic.
Like that. Yeah.
It's pulling from my memory here. They're claiming this is insurance and stuff and all this stuff. Yeah, definitely.
The Olympia. Yeah, there we go. The Olympia. Yeah, so there's a whole conspiracy. I haven't delved deep into it.
It's interlocking deep conspiracy on that whole Titanic thing.
So we were in the conspiracy room.
But just so you know, we're both jaded. How could we not be, since the Epstein files, since the COVID disaster? etc. It's just endless, lies to the public. But I think in this one situation with disclosure, they are telling us as much as they safely can, as quickly as they can, without revealing all the cards to adversaries, obviously, and without uncovering any potential crimes against humanity that were committed.
Yeah. So anyway, my friend responded to this woman and basically said, well, I don't think the government is capable of managing disclosure because of the way they handled COVID. So like, touche. But I mean, like,
they obviously can't. The easiest thing to do right now is not to disclose anything, not to rock the boat, not to say anything, just have the debris, go to Lockheed or wherever it's at, and just keep their mouth shut. But the problem with that, and this was actually brought up at the forum, was that it's a civilizational drag, right? Here we are 79 plus years easily. This has not been disclosed. The president hasn't gone up there and said Roswell's real, which is, to me, insanity. It has to happen. We have to move forward as a civilization. We can't keep holding this back. And somebody, sooner or later, China or Russia or whatever, they're going to disclose it in a way that is unmistakable and provable, right? Somehow, scientifically, they're going to disclose this. It's going to happen. So either we're leaders in this space, or we just continue to fall behind, like we are in many other areas, right? So who's going to be leader in this space? We're holding ourselves back massively and all across multiple axes. We're basically being pulled back to the 20th century, like, to the Cold War way of looking at this. But they have made progress. At least now they're acknowledging that, yes, these things, whatever they are, exist, and we should look at the orbs and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, anyway, I mean, I thought it was great. I thought it was great progress. I hope they have another one. I'm going to just pull up the panels and stuff like that.
Yeah, I got it right here. It's on the screen.
It had a good vibe to it. The audience, so in the room they had the VIPs, like at the very front, and then they had like media and whatever in the thick middle, and then they had the schlubs like Sean and I, and we had plenty of room. It was no big deal. The seats were extremely uncomfortable, but that's not the disclosure form's fault. It was very uncomfortable. But yeah,
they were okay. It could have been worse.
It was good. They had snacks.
I'm just gonna bitch. I'm gonna bitch about the cafeteria because I didn't get. It was so chaotic and so they had like swamp sushi, like that kind of food.
They had a variety. They actually had a variety of food, but you had to find it and then figure out, how do I pay for it? Where do I find my fork? For it,
and there's like, anyway,
it's a zoo down there. But that's part of the experience, man. That was cool. I thought that was neat. I Twittered the whole time. I was trying.
I'd rather have a drill sergeant saying, like, screaming at me, "Eat it now, taste it later," and actually get to eat than that experience. But anyway, okay. So anything to add about like Mellon's opening statement? I mean, I think it was kind of pretty straight.
Mellon takes, with Mellon, and I've listened to many of his statements and little clips and things like that, and in person actually, and on X. He's still trying to take that middle ground, like if we have crash retrievals and if this and if that. It's like, dude, it's 2026 now. Like,
we're past that.
We're past that. That ship has sailed. The toothpaste is out of the tube. You don't need to keep hedging. Frankly, it's like nobody really cares either way. In many cases, most people, they're just watching this like, oh, that's interesting. Or they're not going to hold Mellon, like, they're not going to think Mellon is crazy if he says that Roswell's real. It's like, dude, just move forward with your rhetoric. Come on, let's go. I think he's great otherwise. It's just he's too conservative with what he talks about. But yeah, and very little from my perspective, because I've been to several of these events across the country. Little of this has actually changed, relatively speaking, right? It's except, they did mention the New Jersey drone wave. I think it was in the science and tech, if I remember right, the science and technology section. They did mention that.
Yeah, it was like a national security. That's a whole other.
Or maybe I think it was later than that. They mentioned the drone wave and whatnot, and they mentioned how
they said it was Chinese.
One guy on the left kept this ranting about China. They're going to attack us. Blah 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 blah. But like, dude, you must work for defense contractors to simmer down. Get your Cold War mentality on the seat.
Say that because I'm going to go on like a long rant on that particular panel because it really pissed me off. But the Congressional Roundtable on UAP Transparency, anything? I mean, we talked about representative.
That was
Anna
neat.
Perlino.
I gotta admit, that was the best part of the whole thing. Was just because I've
Really?
seen all of these reps. Yeah, I've seen all of these reps talk on X, but seeing them in person and then the microphone being turned on and off, it was actually really. And then the reps like going, "What the hell is going on? This is suspicious." I was weird, man. I was cool. I thought that was neat. You know, seeing them act, whatever was going on, like.
Yeah, they don't like whatever it is.
Weird.
They don't like representative on a
Yeah, seeing reps talk about this and the things they've been going through. What's happened right now is the U.S. government is essentially they've taken over the space. So Microsoft, I used to work for Microsoft years ago. They had, back in the old days, they had something called embrace, extend, extinguish. Okay, so they would embrace a technology or methodology or whatever. They would extend it, or standard, extend it, and then they would crash it and extinguish it. That's how they competed against certain things. And it's possible that's what they're trying to do here. It's possible that they've embraced it. So now if somebody releases a UFO document, and if it's not on war.gov, it's not legit, right? It's like less legitimate. So the US government has taken over the legitimacy of UFO documents. If it's not a real war.gov, document, like whatever, dude, it's just some fake thing, right? It's not legit. So they basically flooded the zone with many, is it hundreds, or I don't know how many at this point, how many tranches is the word they're using. So basically
3 tranches. You still there? Rich? Can anybody else hear me? Let me see. Let's just make sure that people can hear me. Can somebody just confirm they can hear me? Let's see. I'm just going to go through some of the comments while we're waiting. All right. Well, I'll probably join back soon. Hey, Swade. Good to see you. Okay. There we go.
Dude, I have no idea. I have no idea what happened. This is weird. I have never had internet problems until now. I have no idea what just happened. My internet connection just went down. So I don't know, whatever, right? It's like just like the audio problems we had live.
That's all right. I just started going through all the
yeah. Well, I was just saying, I don't know when I was interrupted, but at this point, embrace, extend, extinguish. Right now, we're in the embrace phase. It's possible.
Oh yeah, the concept is that they're just going to try to take control of the entire space.
Oh, they have,
and then control the narrative. That's
precisely. And I'm not saying this is right now. I don't know if this is a good thing or really a bad thing yet. It can go in many different directions. They're in the embrace
After the pandemic,
phase right now.
It's always a bad thing.
Yeah, so we're in the embrace, and then soon it'll be extend, and then soon it'll be an extinguish phase, right? So they're flooding the zone. They're moving in. This is the 1989 Rich, who's been through the cover up, like when it was really deep and these things did not exist at all. And you were absolutely crazy to even talk about this, right? My father experienced as well. He'd seen UFOs in the late 60s and later. It's possible that they're just going to flood the zone, take control, and then they'll rip the rug out in a year or two. They'll rip that rug out and expose that it's actually all fake. It's not real.
It's like the two Lou Elizondo. Like
it was just hazing.
Chandelier.
Yeah, it was just hazing. It was a blue beam style hazing it for the Air Force. We're sorry, everybody. We're canceling this. There's nothing real about it.
It was a military exercise to assess the population's ability to be manipulated by a false.
That's the extinguish
campaign by the enemy. Right.
Yeah, precisely.
Right.
That's the
Like, we
extinguished
were just
phase.
trying to assess how the population would behave if the Chinese created a meme, engaged in mimetic warfare, and how far it would go, and this and that. And we determined that it was alarming, and therefore here are the steps that we had to take. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so
a possible.
It could go in this direction. I don't get the impression yet that it's going to go in that direction yet, but I'm watching it very closely. And I'm not researching right now. I'm working on other stuff completely unrelated. I'm just holding back and chilling, letting it all bake. Right. If Trump doesn't say anything more and they keep releasing documents and videos, that's cool, but it's going too slow. For me, I want to hear about
and Anna Polina Luna said something to the effect that, like, Trump is has no desire to not upset the deep state.
Yeah. And plus, I'll be blunt.
Pushing this, right?
The files, the real files, the Epstein files, which I think your show has perhaps talked about in the past, right?
Of course. Yeah.
That's a nightmare for the administration. It's a total nightmare, right? And so Trump is an expert. Everybody knows this about media, right? At least I heard he watches TV all the time, right? He's got like all the channels and shit in some room or whatever. And he's just sitting there watching it with his remote control. He knows he's got to flood the zone, right? And disclosure is a perfect way to control the media narratives, right? You want to flood the zone because it can only talk about so much, right? So if you push Roswell out, in a serious way, and he has the legal capability of doing that. He's the chief executive, right? He's in charge of declassification, right? I know that the Atomic Energy Act and there are things that he cannot disclose related to that, but the basics, like, hey, Roswell happened, here's the dates, blah 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 blah. He could disclose that, and it would push the Epstein shit just right, just get that right off the airways. We don't have enough time, right? We got to cover the bodies and the occupants and the crashes and shit and all the tech. So they can unleash this, and they can pull the lever of the big D. The real disclosure anytime they want. So that's a powerful tactic. And then Trump goes down in history as the disclosure president, right? That's got to be very compelling, right? Very compelling.
Anything else on this particular panel with Carson and Soleimani and Burleson and
one thing I'm intrigued about.
Burchett had a conflict.
He didn't show up. I love that guy. I think he's great. By the way, I'm a big fan. I really like that. I don't know if I think it's Burleson who's trying to get that Air Force briefing. I think it was I don't know if it was an Air Force briefing video or movie motion picture, or early 50s. It was like from 54 after DC was overflown. Things were shot at, debris fell, and there's some kind of briefing that occurred. And one of these companies has that. And so he's trying to get that motion picture, and he's like being a pit bull about it. So he's like being a UFO researcher. This is the embrace phase, right?
And he did mention the more specific they were in requesting certain things, the harder it was for the deep state or corporations, frankly. That's the other issue with all this stuff.
Yeah.
In terms of like disclosing. So like they couldn't hide from it because, he would say things like, we know they're there. We know this specific video exists.
Yep.
Stop lying to us.
I would bet $1 million.
The weight of government at you.
It's somebody like Grush. I don't know who's doing this, but there's somebody who knows the space who's pushing Burleson and giving them the data. It's like, hey, go get this. Then I'll go get this. So it's very faction, but it's always been factional from my understanding, going back to like 48, 49, 50. There's always been a faction that just wants to push us out because they know it's holding back our whole civilization at this point. This is mad. What's happening is utter madness. This is stupid. But then again, we are a very warlike, genocidal, psychopathic, insane race, really. If you look at our history, I get it. They got to slow roll this. If you all start yelling on the streets that, hey, the aliens are actually real, oh shit, you don't know how people react. You really don't. Like to you and me, yeah, whatever, right? I'm not shocked by this anymore. There's no ontological shock really in me anymore, right? So not anymore. I know this is real at some level. I haven't seen a gray and anything like that. I was talking to an abductee yesterday, and she said that you don't know what it's like to smell a gray right up next to you. You don't, and I know this. I've known this person for years, not in person, but talking to her and stuff. But she's serious.
Doesn't it smell like cinnamon?
She didn't elaborate, but she was very serious. It was, you could tell, like, it's, to her, it's bad. It's not good. So.
All right, let's see. All right.
I'm reading the messages here.
Gillibrand was not available. When did Senator Rounds speak? Was it around that same time?
I remember that was later, right? He didn't go to the podium.
Yeah,
I actually recorded that. I recorded that actually, so that was good, and I put it immediately on X. To me, I thought that was awesome because we have senators coming in, right, and they're telling us stuff. And by the way, like, you go to the bathroom during the event, and you see senators' offices right there. That's where we're at. I've never actually, been in a Senate building like this.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
That was cool. I thought that was really neat. I have seen news, NBC, ABC, CBS, whatever. I've seen live news coverage from where we were at. I recognized exactly where we're at, like, because I've seen that area, because all the major media networks have their video equipment set up out there. So,
all right. The next panel was the security and defense, national security, UAP, and emerging threats. I do have one video I can play. Let me just stop sharing really quickly, and then just bring it in. Hold on. Give me a second. All right. All right, let's let her rip. And then, Rich, stop me if you want to comment on something. This is not the entire panel, but it was like one exchange. But it's 11 minutes long, so I might stop depending. Here we go.
Different places throughout the Southwest that happened to our ships. What happens in night 2, night 3, night 4, based on your information, Chris?
Surprisingly,
it's hard to hear him.
They said they did not have any video of these objects, even though this has been going on for 17 days.
Yeah, I doubt the people in the audience can hear this, but it's too low. Yeah. I just want to say one thing that did catch my attention was he said that UAPs have, Mr. Mellon said this, UAPs have come up to naval ships to the bridge and shine lights to the window, and just, they're basically letting them know that, and this is what Mellon said, hey, we're here. Not only are we here, but you cannot stop us. How you doing? I thought that's awesome. I think it's awesome, actually. I think it's really neat. Yeah, I mean, somebody's letting us know that, hey, we're here and you cannot stop us. We have technology that you can only imagine. So somebody out there is looking after us.
Anything else in the panel that they talked about that was?
Yeah, this was the China. Was this the China comment, or was that science and technology? I don't recall.
No. They had war fighters on this panel, so it was fine. Like, it was Gallaudet's on there, and
I'll put it out there this way. This was very mainstream. This was like mainstream thinking plus UAP in this whole presentation, right? So if that makes sense. So it's just like they're playing. My opinion is that they have more knowledge than they're admitting. Grush has said this. They've met with them, right? I mean, Grush has said this several times, and we already knew that. They've had meetings with them. Holloman Air Force Base, Edwards Air Force Base, who knows where else, right? So if you're meeting with them, you know more than you're admitting. Come on, man. We don't know what it is. It's just shining a light. It's like, no, you know a little more than what you're saying. Come on, bro.
That happened at this panel when they talked to Kirk. What's his name? Kirk McCullough or something like that.
And I know this sounds trite, but it's the shrub. There's a shrub that happens where it's like, we don't know. What else do you want us to do?
Yeah, I can't hear it, bro. I don't think the audience can hear it.
Shrug that happens. Yeah. So anyway, they asked Kirk McCullough, or they asked the entire panel, "What do you think? How much more do you think the government knows than is out there?" And everybody's like, "Oh, it's a little bit more, but not, it's not that much." And then Kirk McCullough said, "There's we know a lot more. We know." He thinks we know a lot more than what is.
He did say that.
Other
I can't hear Sean. I'm sorry.
Can't hear him.
I think the audience is not gonna hear anything here. That was actually like there were times when we were there in person, like I could hear him a lot too. And actually, especially at the beginning, the representatives, especially, you had to like really listen close when the microphones went on the fritz.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it playing, but I'll just turn off the sound.
Yeah, I can't really hear it. The audio is just not good.
But Kirk McCullough is all the way on the right, like far right. This is Rennenkampf. And then, yeah. So that's...
Yeah, they did all a great job, though. They did a wonderful job. And I get it. You know, everybody's going to have their own perspective on the topic. You know, they're not going to start talking about Edwards Air Force Base February to April. They're not going to go there. They're not going to talk about Holloman. You know, they're not going to go into deep shit like that, deep UFO stuff. And honestly, like, you know what's a whiplash to me is I just listened to Grush in an interview, I guess around a week ago, and I retweeted it and whatnot, and it was jaw-dropping. Grush is like, you know, they were running ops in the 80s, and it was illegal, and they were using it to fund their UFO program.
They're using Iran-Contra.
Yeah, Iran-Contra link, and it was just like, whoa, dude, holy shit. You know, and he was just saying it with a total straight face on major media, right, being interviewed. So contrasting that versus, you know, this, wow. So
yeah,
it's a big topic, right? We've been fed a narrative about history that's just very incomplete at the minimum, for sure. I'm being nice.
Well, didn't Gallaudet on this panel say something to the effect of when like in the 2004 Nimitz, when that happened, there was an email that was sent out among the fleet admirals, basically saying like, does anybody know what the hell these things are? This and that. And
he also said something else as well. He said that all the report, everything's reported, and especially in the U.S. Navy, he said all the instances of these anomalous events are reported. They do go up the chain. They are logged. They don't just disappear.
But then he said Stratton showed up, right? Remember that guy? Stratton?
Vaguely.
The Skinwalker Ranch Stratton?
Yeah. I've heard of him.
So he showed up, and what they did is the message was recalled from, I think, SIPRNet or something like that. It just disappeared on everybody's server. And the rationale was they weren't sure if it was a peer competitor or if it was something else. So they didn't.
This is all insane. And the reason why this is insane, since 9/11, you can't just cover up things in our airspaces anymore. This is madness. So we've already learned our lesson over 9/11, right? So there's weird things flying around in our airspaces. They're sensitive sites. They're trying to cover it up internally. It's madness. They need to stop. It's dangerous because what if it is an advanced drone from Russia or China or wherever, and it's all these sightings are going to be covered up as UFO sightings. We've already been through this. It was called the Robertson panel in January 53. So we've already been through this in a different way, right? So now we're basically they're overclassifying everything, and that is actually making us blind. And now an adversary can exploit that. And this topic, I believe, what I'm talking about right now, was brought up by one of the panels. We have to stop this. It's like we panic over, oh my God, it's a UFO sighting. We got to make it all classified. It's stupid because then it leaks. Sooner or later, it will leak. And unlike, by the way, Mellon said again, he said this many times, we can hold secrets and we have a great track record of keeping secrets. No, you don't. No, you don't, dude. It's all leaked. We know. MK Ultra. We know, dude. We know what happened. We have a pretty damn good idea of the crimes against humanity that have been committed in the 20th century. It's pretty horrifying, actually. And I'm not talking about UAPs necessarily. I'm talking about other things like MK Ultra. So, no, dude, the Navy people themselves will leak it. And it's happened before in the history of this subject, like in 1949, 1950. If they feel that the chain of command is not functioning properly, especially since 9/11, then it's going to leak. And they have a billion ways of leaking it in a way that can't be traced, right? So, and that's one reason why we're here today, right? So it's just that's my rant. That's my rant on that.
I don't think it's super easy to leak because everything's siloed. So if you leak certain information, there'll be like a list of 3 people that know that secret. They'll winnow it down.
Wait, all right. The guy has cancer. The guy has cancer, and he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. He's going to leak it. It's going to happen. Everybody alive, all the personnel alive today, they're going to get older, and they're going to talk. Okay, a good percentage of them are just going to go right on video. Boom, they're going to leak it. So you might as well control the narrative. You need to have I'm going to say this for years on X. They need to have an MLH, a modified limited hangout, and that's exactly what we're seeing today. We're seeing embrace, extend, extinguish, MLH. This is all standard stuff, right? Narrative control. They have PSYOP guys. It took them a few years to figure out how to do this, and they're getting really good at it, right? And that's my fear, actually, that this could ultimately be a rug pulled thing. That's actually a big fear of mine, is that in 2 or 3 years they're going to do the rug pull. So, and
like the Elizondo thing, right, where he shows a chandelier and then he shows
that whole. I love Elizondo. I think he's great. I really do. He does a good job overall.
But that gives him the ability to rug pull.
He rug pulled in that instance. He rug pulled, right? And he's a trained expert, right? He shouldn't be showing, in my opinion, pictures of cornfields. That's silly. Come on, bro.
Yeah, that wasn't a mistake.
And I respect Elizondo for his service and for everything he's done for UFOs.
Counterintelligence. It's classic counterintelligence.
And that actually hurt his reputation online on X massively. So the center of gravity on this topic in many ways is X. It's not, CIA, Now or News Nation, whatever it's called. It's X. So it hurt his rep. Everybody knows now about that. We have a long memory. It's a small space too. There's only, I estimate there's probably only like 50,000 of us or so. And I estimate this roughly, very roughly, from looking at the follower counts of various X accounts, right? So it's not very big. It's only 6 figures, I think. We remember the cornfield photo. And if they want to do a rug pull, what I would do is actually what they're doing right now. Flood the zone with docs, get Avi Loeb out there to say, well, could be balloons, could be some geese, maybe some radar, inversions. We've been through this before, right? I'm jaded. I got to admit, I'm very jaded. I'm just as jaded as you are, just in a different way. But maybe it'll go in a healthier direction and they won't rug pull the whole thing and just keep pushing slowly, let it slow bake for, 5 or 10 years.
Well, when we get to it, I think that was the point of the psychological panel. Like, there was hope in that panel.
Yeah, that was different because I attended a SCU conference presentation. Dr. Alexander went, very smart man in this domain, but he was very conservative, very Cold War. Like, we're all gonna, if they reveal this, there's gonna be men in mountains.
He presented it Seoul, and I was extremely angry afterward.
I wasn't angry at him. It was right out of 1962, right? It's gonna be guys holing up in the mountains, waiting for the Greys with their guns, and they're gonna go crazy. And I was just like, nah, bro. I don't think so. Nobody, listen. I know a lot of people that know about this topic that just don't really give a shit. They don't, if they're not going to pay their mortgages and their student loan debts, whoever these NHIs are, then they don't care. They don't care. It's not helping them. How's it helping them get ahead? People are very jaded anymore. Not like it. And also, these things aren't actively flying over right now. It comes in waves, but most people are like, it's a Chinese drone. That's what they said online. And so whatever, right? They just see a light. And then they're told it's FAA authorized, they're lied to, and then they just go back to sleep.
Yeah, I visibly rolled my eyes at one point during one of the panels when they were talking about those drones. Just give me a second. I want to get back to the. Oops. There we go. All right. So that was kind of that particular panel. You want to talk about the Mike Rounds presentation? Which was next, Rich?
Yeah,
as soon as a politician starts talking, like, my brain turns off.
I'll be honest, the signal noise ratio wasn't very, very high, but it was cool. It's cool to see Mike Rounds talk, legitimate. He's up there on the podium talking about the topic. That's cool. This subject's been marginalized for so many decades that what happened was incredibly historic and will be remembered, I think, compared to all the other things that in history that have happened in this subject. So, but I don't really have much to add for him. He came a little later and he did a good talk. Nothing. I didn't take notes. I'm not really good at. I was just sitting there, just taking it all in. So I didn't studiously take notes like some people were wanting me to.
Yeah, I didn't either, but that was because
his mic was working though. His mic was working, so.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't have I definitely didn't go in with the best of attitudes. I expected to be.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't actually.
So that,
which
that's
is
on
fine.
me. That's on me a little bit or a lot, but it's fine. All right. So we had lunch break. We talked about we don't need to go into worst cafeteria I've ever encountered. Okay. Then we had the science and investigation from anecdote to instrument data.
It was good. I like hearing Putoff talk about the subject. He talked about metric engineering a bit, which he's talked about before quite a bit on YouTube and other places, presentations. He talked about how he was part of a panel approximately 20 to 30 years ago where they had to like
the
vote.
same one.
Yeah, they had to vote. Are we going to disclose or not? And he voted back then, no, we're not ready, but he's changed his mind. And Avi Loeb and him, they seem to have a good banter back and forth. Avi Loeb's taking a very scientific, grounded, position, which can be part of the extinguish phase of the operation.
Yes, it's the old frustrating data. We need more data.
But here's the thing: we have so much data now that the quantity and the magnitude of the data is itself a form of data and evidence. There's many different types of evidence, and this was brought up actually by one of the panels where in the legal domain, all eyewitness testimony rates very highly, especially if it's cross corroborated by multiple people and multiple high quality witnesses, and radar, and landing impressions and damaged trees, etc. And when they're shot at, they drop things. Hello, like when I hear Avi Loeb, and obviously he's great. I retweet him all the time because he brings legitimacy to the subject. Wonderful, right? But the problem with Avi is he takes this hyper scientific, skeptical centered thing, and dude, the national security apparatus has the data. The data. Listen, Carl Sagan testified in the late 60s on this exact subject, and he said that the data that the national radars were gathering for the Defense Department, whenever the objects moved too quickly or un-airplane-like, it was dropped, is what he said. And he had a security clearance. And so I don't believe it was dropped at all. I think it was just sent to a compartment. There is no way in hell that radar data for UFO sightings would be dropped. There's no way. It's impossible. And not after Roswell, not after Pearl Harbor. No way in hell it was dropped. So it was sent to a compartment somewhere and squirreled away. We all know this.
Yeah, there's probably an entire intelligence agency.
But by the way, there is. They're called fast walkers. They're called fast walkers. We even know the phrases they use. This is well known in ufology, right?
Yeah, but what do you think the agencies? What do you think the agency's called? People say it went to the DOE.
Maybe it's the NRO. I don't know. I don't.
No. I think it's an agency that
NGA. Who knows? I don't.
I think it's an agency we literally do not know the name of.
I purposely don't get too pulled in. I don't get pulled into modern things like that because it changes every few years, shuffles around. Those things, those details. For me, my research, I just let others like Dolan take care of that or whoever. Right. I'm more focused on the overall arc of history since 1897 or say 1896. My personal interest, right? And with this particular focus on 40s and 50s right now, maybe a little in the 60s. They have the data. They know this is real, right? I do get from listening to them talk for years now and drone on the talking heads for years that I do sense that there is utter confusion ultimately. Like they've met, you can listen to Grush and Grush says they've met with them multiple times. That corroborates what we already knew in ufology, okay? So perhaps they've met with certain NHIs, but whatever is really happening in the big picture, I do sense complete ignore. They have no idea ultimately like what really is going on. There's some multiple technologies being deployed here, and I don't believe in paranormal at all. I think it's all just high technology, which can appear paranormal once you bring in quantum physics and things like that. It's just
a physics we don't understand.
Yeah, it's precisely. It's a physics. Just like Avi Loeb said in one of his presentations. During the one with Putoff, he was saying that the next physics is going to extend our current physics, right? So that's what's going to happen, right? And I was reading on X earlier yesterday that one of the reasons the deep state keeps bringing down, or the national security apparatus keeps bringing down the modern AI models like Fable 5 and Mythos and whatever, is because they're afraid to death that modern AI is going to expose the hidden physics. And that makes perfect sense, right? There is some kind of hidden physics that's been suppressed. Atomic Energy Act, right? That kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And they must be terrified that they're just one step away with modern AI model exposing it. And by the way, if that's true, then China is going to figure it out, because they're releasing open source models right now that are distilled from, they say they're distilled from our models. They're going to figure it out sooner or later. That's happening right now. And you're not going to be able to stop them. China is flooding the internet with modern, enormously capable AI models like GLM-5 So like, yeah, they've held back, I'm ranting about this, but they held back Fable 5, but it doesn't matter because it's just pushing everybody to open source models. It's actually, they talked a little bit about AI as well. And it's a form of NHI, non-human intelligence. And by the way, it's not autocomplete. I'm using AI or Claude Code OPEX right now, or OpenAI's equivalent for Claude Code, Codex, not OPEX. And it's awesome. It's insane. It's like I'm one-shotting things that would take me hours of days of coding. I'm one-shotting them in a few minutes sometimes. It's insane. So anyway, that's my personal. I mean, I'm just kind of giving you my thoughts on everything synthesized since this disclosure forum. I thought it was overall really interesting. So
the other thing that's worth noting is they asked Avi like who he's bringing on. He's bringing on a bunch of neophytes, know nothing about the field and all that stuff, because he wants to take a completely new approach.
He wants a balanced approach.
He wants to ignore the past, right? The volumes and volumes of data, etc.
Wait, do we ignore the transients then? Because that's the past. There's that scientific research right there. Does that mean we just ignore that? Well, no, it's bullshit. Why would we ignore our past? So it's already a red flag. That's a massive red flag when you say things like that. That's insane. To be frank with you, that's insane. No, we're not going to ignore the plate evidence. That's data. What? Come on, get out of here. Get the hell out of here. He's calling people crack. I don't want to rant. I don't want to go too far. I do retweet Avi Loeb. I think he brings legitimacy to it.
Yeah, he said something about crackpots on Twitter, on X. And
it's like, bro, the center of gravity is X. And you're calling some of the people on X crackpots. That's not, dude. And by the way, Avi Loeb himself has detractors in the educational field, and science and stuff. And they've called him that word. So, dude, chill.
So when I interviewed him, I read one of his papers and I went through one of his papers, and literally all the elements in the papers were the exact elements that you would use to build spacecraft. So I naively made the next leap, which was like, oh, they must be UFOs. Why would UFOs use the exact same materials that we use to build spacecraft? So the whole project that he was doing in the Pacific, it's possible that doing that basic analysis it's just a cover up for a satellite crash that we had or something like that.
I'll give Avi this, is he has taken a lot of heat, a ton, and he does go out there on a limb, and I respect that. That's awesome. I fear,
I'm just saying it's a possibility it might be a cover up of one of our.
I fear though that we know how cover ups work, right? We know how modified limited hangouts work. And they're going to insert somebody in the space, get a Heineck out there, and then, pull out the picture, swamp gas. We trust me. Only when someone says only through me can you achieve success or understanding, that's a red flag, dude. That's not how this should work. And as soon as you start calling people crackpots, like, come on, bro, you've been called a crackpot by others. I've seen it, right? There's many scientists who are like, nah, and I've seen his presentations where he talks about all the attacks he's taken. So that's my 2 cents anyway. I love the guy. I'll keep retweeting him.
Yeah, I think he's a good guy, but I think he's there to direct the narrative, let's say, at the very least.
Yes. Extend, embrace, extinguish. Yep. You can't extinguish it until you've embraced it and extended a little, though. Control the space.
That's right. The next thing that is worth noting about Puthoff. Puthoff also, without being prompted, said, and let's not assume that they're from, extraterrestrial sources. He's like, I wrote a paper on cryptoterrestrials and ultra-terrestrials, and he kind of put that out there. He also talked, as you noted, Rich, about metric engineering and how it worked. And it kind of explained the
He's very compelling. His metric engineering,
blue shift that people saw, and the X-rays and radiation effects that people kind of had experienced.
And he's building off earlier research and a book by a NASA scientist. And you got to forgive me, it's been a few years, but the book came out after this NASA scientist died, and it was all about UAP propulsion. It's a very good book, but he was afraid to publish that book. And anyway, Hal Puthoff has referred to that book. So I think they're right over the target. My personal opinion, they're 100% right over the target that it's metric engineering. I would bet money on this, that somehow the space-time metric can be modified and it doesn't take enormous amounts of energy or gravitational mass or whatever to do it. There's something missing in our physics. There's something there. There's something missing. We're being suppressed. I actually would bet money they've already figured out a lot of it.
Yeah, it's something to do with tetrahertz wave resonant frequencies,
metamaterials.
Like basically, a craft is a waveguide. It's not a craft; it's a waveguide. And when it vibrates at a certain frequency, it can basically end up somewhere else much more rapidly.
Yeah, I do like, though. I saw on X a few days ago somebody talk about the Roswell craft, and it's been well known for decades in this field, right? This little niche, that the occupants were part of the craft, right? The technology has been merged.
They completed the circuit.
They've been merged, right? So it was almost, you can, in a way, though, look at it like it's like a form of paranormal propulsion, because the occupant is like part of the craft and part of the propulsion system. And so they're, it's like they're using their mind. It's like almost out of Dune, the movie or the books, they're almost like imagining where they want to appear in space. I think it's really cool. Like apporting themselves, if you know that word from occultism, apport. Almost like they're apporting themselves from point A to point B, which is pretty freaking cool, actually.
All right.
But I'm going to say that if you're familiar with Hal Puthoff and what he's talked about before, if you've seen his disclosure video on YouTube where he talks about metric engineering, he didn't say a lot beyond that. I think everything that he said, he said in other interviews or presentations. And I want to send. I here's one. I want to throw this out there too. I get a sense that what the force behind this disclosure thing, they are in a new phase. There's something. The organizing force has decided. All right, now we're going to phase 2. We're going to push this a bit, and that's where Avi Loeb came out. He's now a presidential advisor on disclosure and whatnot. So anyway, we're now in phase 2. We're now, instead of Dr. Alexander Went saying, oh my God, they're going to hole up in mountains and start shooting people. Now they're like, well, get ready. Disclosure is now. It's coming. It's already happening. There's going to be some people that crack and you'll have to help them. They'll need some therapy. They'll need some therapy. I thought it was kind of fun. I don't know exactly what she said. I'm paraphrasing, but it was like that.
Well, we'll get into it, because there were like 2 messages. One I agreed strongly with. The other one I thought was...
Didn't you comment? Didn't you say, you said to me in a call after the event that you were unhappy that in one of the panels, was it science and technology, didn't have any, I don't know, they didn't have any military people with military background or something? I don't know. Was it national security or
we'll get to it, because
all right, you got a plan. That's good,
because that pissed me off. All right, so the next piece was the last thing I forgot to mention about Hal Puthoff. And this was out on X, but I'll just repeat it. Somebody asked him, of what you know, how much have you have you revealed to the public of what you know? And he basically said very low. So he knows a lot more than he can say.
And he didn't want to go to jail by revealing anymore.
Yeah, I basically said something almost to the
it's clear he's a legacy operator. He's been involved in those programs deeply,
100%
in many ways. So very high clearance.
All right. So the next one, actually, I forgot about the religious aspect.
I love the religious one. I thought it was awesome.
I thought it was because this
He
guy
was talking
Carl
about
Desire,
people levitating. Like it was pretty neat.
he wrote a book. He wrote a book on that explored people levitating and by location.
And by location, yeah.
And how it was real. Like he was talking about the Plymouth colony, and there was a woman that was levitating that they could not stop. And there were literal sworn affidavits from the time where like these people took their oath to God extremely seriously.
And they tried to push the person down, to pull them down or whatever, and they couldn't do it. So, and they was sworn on affidavits, multiple people, multiple witnesses. There was no joke. So, and he also talked about there is a connection between these paranormal incidents and UAPs. And it turns out at the core of the paranormal realm or domain and UAPs, and they're actually very similar. They're probably the same phenomena or very related phenomena. So it was a great presentation. I like that. It's clear that he knew his stuff. I'm not religious. I thought at all. I'm just thinking he knew what he was talking about. Anything to do with demonology and demons, like the Exorcist movie. It's just the vampire movies. We're hunting vampires. I think that's pretty cool. I love that shit. So from dusk till dawn. Come on, how could you not like that stuff?
He also mentioned he kind of alluded to like he was born in the Soviet Union or something.
Don't remember that.
I don't know if he said born, but he like spent some time there or lived there for a while. And what he did was, and I think he got a standing ovation for this. He said that you can't lie to your population for 80 years and expect the system not to collapse. Right? He said something to that effect.
Civilizational drag.
Yeah, yep. I don't think he put it quite that way. He was more urgent than that. Like, you got to stop lying to your people, otherwise.
Well, they've created a false virtual reality. It's a reality bubble. It's false. It's not real. Like thinking that we're the only intelligences around, and no, dude, you're right. I'm sorry, but that's clearly something else is here. Many else's are here. It's just like meteors back in the old days, hundreds of years ago. Meteors were like, it's impossible. The scientists of the age were like, it's crazyville. You're insane. We've been through this before already. Meteors are a perfect example.
All right. So anything else on Dr. Ayer's presentation? And he was like he's like a Yale guy, right?
Yeah. It was a lot. What I liked about this disclosure forum is they had a lot of they covered a lot of ground, the whole domain, 360 degrees. They really tried to do they had good coverage. It was actually quite extensive, and it went over the time limit, the whole event. I think it went beyond 4:00. It was fast too, rapid fire. We had barely any time to get up.
It went over because of one shit show of a panel, but we'll get to that. And they burned time into the next panel, which was the participants were far more educated on the topic they were presenting on, but we'll get to that. Let's see. Oh boy. Yeah, that's true. Yale, home of Skull and Bones. All right. So this one was interesting. So just the fact that they discussed this was interesting and notable. And that is society and psychology, how people process the unprecedented. So someone, I'm assuming it's the government, hired a group of highly credentialed psychologists to assess the impact of disclosure on the American population. Okay. So like this isn't.
And this is an old topic in this field. It goes back to roughly the 60s. This whole space here, or the psychological impact to the United States populace of disclosure and UFOs and stuff. Yeah, this is an old topic. I keep thinking back to Ebeneger, his book, in the early Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't think I'm pronouncing his name right. Bob, yeah, exactly. He was in 1988 UFO Cover Up Live in DC. You can see it on YouTube. Anyway, he wrote a book UFOs then and now, or something like that or another. And in there, and at the end of the book, there's a whole section on the psychology of this whole thing. It was written by a psychologist or some professional who understands this really well. And it was a whole report on here's what's going to happen if we disclose. And, you know, from 1970s or late 60s perspective, it was really good. And by the way, Abednego went to the Air Force. If I remember right, I'm pulling from my memory here. Yeah, he went to the Air Force and he consulted with them officially and everything. They were going to give him this is well known. They were going to give him a movie or some clip of some landing and stuff. And then instead they pulled it at the last minute. So there was an early little stab at disclosure that what happened in the 70s. And here we are. It's really neat to see. Here we are in 2026, them talking about this exact topic. And in this presentation, I tweeted this. There was clearly a slide that said disclosure has already begun, and another slide that, get ready, basically prepare yourselves. So
yeah, it's just said like we're already,
and we really are. I mean, just to have something of that magnitude, that kind of a disclosure form thing happen in the Senate building, that's a big deal, because in the old days when I was growing up, this was all covered up. There was a complete 100% information embargo on this at the official level. Just getting FOIAs would take lawsuits, to get, or not, just getting information from the CIA or NSA or whatever about this was hard.
Now, the other thing that they said, which I agreed with, was that one of the findings, it was duh, like you would hear it and be like, yeah, duh. But it was something to the effect of, it's best to be direct and forthright with your population, because that would reduce the probability of instability as a result.
Yeah. And that's what I'm sensing.
Like,
something's changed. They're being more confident and more open about it. And perhaps it's because of the Pursuit Project, whatever, the executive orders from Trump. Maybe they're more confident. I get the feeling, I actually sense they're more confident now about disclosure than, say, a couple of years ago. Where they now have the support from the administration. And look at the administration's position. They're constantly facing Epstein file eruptions, right? Every other week, there's a new Epstein file eruption. They might have to redact stuff more. I mean, if I were in their shoes, like,
it's a greater risk. It's a greater risk learning that your world is controlled by a cabal of psychopaths who are held in thrall by compromising images of their own depravity, right? Than it is to know that there's some other force on Earth that is interacting with you, right?
Yeah. So even on X, most topics only have a lifespan of, say, a week or two, whatever, at most. Like, look at the Epstein files. They came out. There's a lot of tweets about it. It was a storm of tweets about it, retweets. Now it's out in the, just baking out there. A few little accounts are tweeting and whatever about it. So disclosure just keeps getting bigger and bigger and louder. It can drown it out.
Yeah. So actually, I don't know if you know.
Yeah. So this next one, this technology innovation one, there was some interesting reveals.
I don't think you have anything to say on this, but
you know what's weird about CERN? Yeah, I do actually. So what's strange about CERN?
I know something too, but I'll wait for you to go and then I can.
I don't know why they're shutting it down, but it's weird that you bring up CERN, because I know a psychic who's also an abductee, and a few days before these big earthquakes, like in Venezuela or whatever, they contacted me, and they're like, "Hey, something big's going to happen, and it's related to CERN. When this thing goes down, our defenses are going to go down, and something very big is going to happen." This is the message that was given to me. I don't claim to understand it. It's just, I just noted it. It was a few days for the earthquakes. So there's something significant about CERN and at a planetary level. And something major is going to happen.
I had a dinner with Mark Stavish, and it was like a 5-hour dinner. And I actually asked him the same question. And for people who don't know, he's runs the Institute of Hermetic Studies. And he said that someone, I think from Cambridge Analytics or something like that, had reached out to him and was really nervous about CERN. And
the psychics are really nervous about CERN. I don't understand why.
And this guy wasn't even psychic, right? Mm-hmm. As far as I know. But he reached out to an occultist, basically. And what Mark said is, well, since you're observing molecular interactions that appear to go faster than the speed of light, that indicates that there's some bleed over from the lower astral realm where the vibrational frequency of space-time is just faster, right? And he's like, that's like a clear indication that that's happening. And then I asked him, well, does that mean something can bleed over? He's like, it depends, right? It's just like if you go to a cafeteria and there's like a mob boss there, but there's also the people that clean the cafeteria, right? If the mob boss comes through, you got problems, right? If like one of the cleaners comes through, it's just totally fine. But it's just a different space-time.
I think the word I would use is chatter. There's a word I would use is chatter. There's a lot of chatter about CERN with very sensitive people. I don't understand it. It's like listening to a foreign radio station that I don't understand, right? But I'm just telling you, I do pick that up. You know, I watch a lot of stuff, monitor a lot of things.
Yeah, anyway, it's weird. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know why they shut it down, but these are just stuff that's just chatter. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what was next? Oh, we're not. The other thing that they talked about that actually pissed me off about this is that these clowns were using the COVID model to determine whether or not the population was ready. Let me explain what I mean. They didn't say it was the COVID model. They didn't consciously, they might have not even consciously made the connection, but I did. So what they were doing is they basically looked at how many mental health institutions there were, and then looked at the capacity rates at these mental institutions and whether a large influx of new mental patients as a result of disclosure would overwhelm the system, right? And it's basically, in my opinion, a rendition of 2 more weeks to flatten the curve, just 2 more weeks, right? It was that same horse shit. Like, frankly, like if people go batty, their families will take care of them. Like let's not infantilize the population or infanticize the population, right?
For all practical purposes, they've had the core of disclosure already, and nobody gives a shit, right? Nobody cares. What's happened's already been historic. So, you know, has anybody gone crazy? No, nobody cares. We're very apathetic now. We're very apathetic now. We don't care what's flying over unless they're helping people out with their fucking student loans or, you know, rent. They don't care. I even if Trump went and said Roswell was real, I'd be like, oh, I saw the movie. Yeah, it's a 90s thing. That's X-Files. That's cool. They don't care. They'll go back to Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah. All right. What was the next?
And that's actually, I bet you, the goal. By the time they rip the Band-Aid off, nobody, whatever, it's no pain.
So they frame this thing. It says technology and innovation, research, industry, and what comes next. But they frame this thing as a national security panel, right? Rich, am I wrong?
So I gotta be honest. This whole panel, I had no idea what were these people's real backgrounds. I got the feeling they worked on like national security projects, right?
Yeah,
they had a academic background.
They were 100% academics, right?
But they had a national security background. They worked on interesting projects on the science side.
Like Susan Winterberg was at Belfer Center at Harvard University, right?
And I also got the feeling that they had already discussed what they were going to reveal, and like Susan would push out one thing, and then a few minutes later, Jonathan would push out something else related to it. And if you combine them both together, you just had a reveal, right? And so the number one thing in their presentation, from my perspective, was during the New Jersey drone wave, which they weren't really drones. There was a UAP flap, and there was complete and utter pandemonium at a whole bunch of agencies, and that's what they talked about. And I already know this because I was watching the whole wave live on X, right? So I thought that was interesting. They talked about that a bit.
Yeah. So I thought this panel was a complete waste of time. You had people who purported to have national security backgrounds, but none of them had ever carried a rifle or shouldered a rucksack. There's not a single warfighter on that panel. The first guy was talking about the UAP sightings at Langley, Virginia, and kept pounding the table saying they were Chinese. If they were fucking Chinese, we would have sank all their islands.
First of all, why would China show their most advanced drones, put lights on them, and let us get radar? Radar returns or visuals.
This fucking clown had no goddamn idea what he was talking about. He had
ridiculous.
No business talking about national security because his head was up his ass the entire fucking time. He was it's no clue.
It challenge. It's like, dude, bro, they're not going to put Christmas lights on their most advanced stealth drones. Send them over our bases for weeks. I think weeks at a time sometimes, right? Continually over and over again. And every time we try to chase them. Yeah,
I mean, it's just ridiculous. In response. We were just completely quiet. Oh,
and by the way,
violated our airspace for 7 days.
They have satellites. If they want to spy on your base, yeah, they got satellites, right? They can just send tourists around with cameras who get arrested sometimes, right? They don't need, advanced, hyper advanced drones. It's
actually,
just stupid.
They could send tourists around with actual drones that the drone systems on the base disable.
Yeah.
Right?
But we've been through this over New Jersey. It was Iranian mothership drones.
That's what happened at Vandenberg. They arrested a Chinese national who's doing exactly that.
One thing they did talk about, I don't know if it was in this panel or one of the others, they did talk about how Wright-Patterson Air Force Base was shut down, which if you know about the New Jersey drone wave, then you would already know that Wright-Patterson Air Force Base,
also talked about
our main Air Force. Yeah, by the way, I covered.
Which was the first time that I heard that aside from Rich. That was the first time I heard that.
It was. Here's the deal. I covered Barksdale during the New Jersey drone wave because I know someone who lives right next to the base. He's ex-Air Force. He's a great guy. He's been on News Nation, Ross Coulthart. I was getting live videos of the UFOs. I'm not going to call them drones over Barksdale. Right? He was sending me videos. He was posting them online. I was talking about it live a few years ago, late 2024. And everybody's like, they're not over Barksdale. Yeah, now they're over Barksdale. It just took a few years for everybody to catch up. But yeah, and for Barksdale, they were actually, from what I gather, the personnel all the way up the chain were very unhappy that they weren't being taken seriously.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But anyway, these fools kept droning on and on about national security and the military versions are going to be much more sophisticated. We're not asking for, we just want better systems. We just want better systems and this and that, more data so we can collect. Look, they're nice PhDs. I'm sure they're great, but they didn't know their heads from their asses when it came to national security. And put next year, if there's a next year, put a fucking warfighter on this panel, so that there's somebody who knows what time it is. I'm
going to balance you out. I didn't get any negative impressions from those folks. I do wish they would have just said what they actually do for a living in a way that
it's not even negative. It's just they didn't know what they were talking about.
I didn't know what I didn't grok what their backgrounds really were. I know that there was some spooky, it's my word for intelligence, work or national security work or something, NDA related, whatever. It was all very nebulous to me from this one.
And not only was it a terrible panel with people who were completely ignorant about the topic they were talking about, but it went over and it cut into the time of the next panel, which was actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, I had the exact opposite. The next panel, the financial one, I just wasn't impressed, except for one a little bit. Once I learned there was the inverse Kramer dude, I was like, all right.
Yeah, but
I can take you seriously. I can take you seriously because you're
so
reverse Kramer.
If you know about CNBC, right, and you know about Kramer on CNBC, he's always wrong. You should always bet against whatever stock he's pitching.
I'm a big fan of Pippa Malmgren, so but I'm not a finance person, so I comes in one ear and out the other than Annie Kramer. I know if Kramer says something's going up,
I can cover down. It. Like Matt Tuttle, basically, who runs kind of Tuttle Capital Management, was talking about how people are assessing the financial opportunity of the technology that might come through disclosure. And his point was, unless it's directly in front of them and tangible, they're not planning for it at all, right? There's very few asset managers that are looking at this.
It's a black swan, sort of, right?
Well, it is until it isn't, in which case, but like there are ways that you could assess, in this sort of environment with this sort of technology, which areas of the economy and which companies in this space would benefit disproportionately. And then just literally just have a playlist in front of you if this happens. Hey, I need 100,000 shares of whatever this company is, and
Raytheon, Lockheed.
But it might not even be those. It might be some materials company or something that's obscure where you could make an outsized return. But what he said is they're barely even thinking about it. The second thing that was interesting is that Pippa Malmgren said that she, one of the things about how the economy does is, I mean, this is obvious, but it's worth mentioning explicitly, is how cheap your electricity prices are. And she was talking about the opportunity going ahead was, electricity costs approaching zero. And this is before any like 0 point energy technology. She's talking about the future of nuclear technology and several other technologies that are being introduced in real time now that could dramatically decrease electricity costs, which would be a tremendous unlock for the economy, regardless of disclosure. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
now they had to curtail it. Sure.
Her viewpoint was we shouldn't hold back disclosing advanced energy tech because we're already moving in that direction anyway with advanced energy tech. Like it's already happening anyway, disclosure or not.
Right. Let me see. Anyway. All right. Anything else that, I mean, this is pretty important. At the very end, they honored like 3 of the whistleblowers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So it was Nusatelli, Matt Brown, Jeff Nusatelli, Matt Brown, and who was the third one? Dylan something or other.
Yeah. Yep. Borland. Is it Borland?
Yeah. Dylan Borland. And
I thought that was great. Without the whistleblowers, we'd be in the dark. And they really do take heat. Like Russia's been threatened, multiple times. And I believe this. I really do. He's a hero.
But really I think the most interesting part of that and the biggest reveal to that was when Matt Brown said, we want to thank people like Whitley Strieber. Come on up, Whitley, right?
Yeah.
This is the first time in any kind of disclosure type environment where there was indirect, right? It wasn't direct acknowledgement, but it was indirect acknowledgement of the abduction phenomenon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if Matt Brown was a spoiler by doing that or if that was deliberately choreographed, but that is a significant change from at Seoul. Remember, they didn't want him associated. Like they didn't want him to come up and talk because they didn't want that event to be associated with the abduction phenomenon.
Yeah.
That
so
changed here
at SCU, the event I attended, they didn't want to associate SCU with conspiracies like MJ12. Like, oh my God, it's a conspiracy. No. And at Seoul, they didn't. That just was a very strange vibe, right? Where you're not allowed to take photos. We'll escort you off. We'll get the campus police if you do that. And in this, however, at this event, it was actually quite holistic to use that word there. So, take all the photos you want. Go ahead, record it all. We'll bring up Strieber, no problem. They've learned, I think, from these other events quite a bit. Embrace the conspiracy. Embrace the conspiracy. Matter of fact, the U.S. government now is the biggest ufologist around. War.gov. Seen it like 1 billion times. Like they have all the files there now. They have the vids, right? You want MJ12? Yeah, we got that too. Come on over. Embrace the conspiracy.
I mean, but to be fair, they got to do a better job than showing like fuzzy dots because that's.
But listen. We're taking videos of super hyper advanced technology. I mean, that's the nature of the beast. Metric engineering, dude. Like, I don't know if we're ever going to get good video.
Even the Kimbergots photo. All I have to do is take the Kimbergots.
Here's the deal. There are a lot of amazing photographs going back in the 20th century. And
that's a video. It's not a photograph.
Well, hold on. There are a lot of amazing photographs, and nobody believes them. there's even really sharp ones. They're like, oh my God, that's just a saucer on a string. What if it's not, dude? What if those are actually real photos? Nobody believes them. It doesn't matter what videos or photos they release. Nobody's going to believe them. It doesn't matter. So it's actually in a way better that they're fuzzy messes, right? We're looking at advanced technology, which is some of these things are warping space, right? So what do you expect? You're not going to take a good photo of that tech. Look, put it this way. Compare Blue Origin's efforts at videoing their rocket launches versus SpaceX. Okay, they're night and day, especially in the early days of Blue Origin. Blue Origin, their videos are just not that good. They're not compelling. SpaceX put a lot of effort into that. They're amazing. They're incredible. It takes effort to take a video of something moving, in up the space. So you what do you expect from some schmo with his camera trying to take a picture?
A lot of them, they're literally just hovering, not moving at all, and then they go from that space.
The orb videos are a lot of them are quite compelling, and especially when you look at the wind speed and they're moving against the wind and the wind's really fast and stuff like that. So, but I personally, I've said this on X many times. I don't care what videos, what photos, whatever. It's unless it's been censored provably, I don't care. And that's why the photos taken in 1947 that have been provably shown to have been censored, pulled by Army, CIC, or whoever, or FBI. Okay, I'll look at them. Yeah, and they were quite amazing actually. So the Rhodes photo over Phoenix, which I've covered at Contact in the Desert, is amazing and incredible. So for what it's worth. Yeah. Anyway, I loved it. I thought this event was great overall. It was a good show.
Yeah, it was
great.
It was good.
The song and dance. It was great. No, it really was. Very healthy.
There were a few key inflections, but you had to be paying very close attention to catch them. If you weren't, it would have been a nothing burger, and you would have been like, "There's nothing here." Now, I would have liked to see an alien body on a gurney. Right?
It's come. One day we'll have that. That's advanced disclosure, dude.
I don't know.
It's phase 5 or something. It might be the next administration. Who knows? Maybe Trump will disclose Roswell. Who knows? One day. And listen, when I was growing up, I remember reading about the idea of disclosure. It was impossible. Just totally none of this will ever happen. It's fantasy. It's insane. They'll never disclose this topic. I've studied this topic, for fun, just on the side. I'm a game developer, I need game development ideas, and I would show UFO books to professional game designers, and they would pull. I'm serious. They would pull ideas. They'd be like, "Whoa!" I showed them, some pretty I think Nick Pope is his name, and I showed them all kinds of stuff, and they were like, they pulled ideas from those books. So I've been following this topic online and on BBS's back in the day, and I know that dates me, and I kind of get a feeling for how old I am, actually. What's happening now is absolutely historic. We're all jaded, right? We're taking it for granted.
Yeah, I mean, Nixon did show it to Jackie Gleason.
Yeah, there you go. If that's real, I don't know if that's real. I've read a book about that. I don't know if that's real or not, but if it is real, and why not? That's amazing. Could you imagine Gleason going and seeing in a case the alien body? Holy shit, dude!
He probably did. Why
Nixon,
would he lie about that?
Jackie Gleason was super into this topic. He had a massive book collection, which I think was contributed to some.
He had a house, the UFO house. Have you heard of that?
I kind of remember he was a
he had a house
fanatic.
in New York that was built like a UFO.
Yeah, the dude was a total fanatic in this topic. He'd be perfect to bring in and just show him. And it's harmless, right? Because if he talks about it, nobody's going to believe him. It's he's just he's out there. He's a comedian, whatever. It doesn't matter. He's just one of those fanatics. He's a believer, so left-hand path. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So anyway, I had a great time. I thought it was an interesting thing. I didn't have any expectations going in. So I didn't learn. I think, did I learn anything truly new personally? A few little, not really, it's kind of like old hat, right? I've been to Disclosure U, right? I kind of know about everything you're talking about, and insane. I've heard it over and over and over again. So we need to turn a page, get to Roswell quickly. Come on. Yeah, I'm looking at my lighting. I have to work on this more. Yeah, it's yellow in the background, but it doesn't look yellow to me. It looks red. So I need a better camera. Sean has a really nice camera.
Just give me a second. I got somebody playing fucking copyrighted music in the background. I got to shut it down.
Oh, I don't hear it at all. Yeah, I had, meetings with several people that were at the event, and some organizers too, actually. It was really interesting. And there are individuals behind the scenes that work in these events. They're contribute their time and whatnot, and they definitely have learned a lot from previous events, and that you can see that in the professionalism and in this latest event. It was good.
I have no idea who Leo Zagami is, but anyway, sorry, I had to deploy the mom police to confiscate devices and whatnot. Last thing I need is to get thrown off YouTube because some kid plays fucking Twitter.
Yeah, I was listening to the music at the beginning of the show. It was actually a distraction. I was like, what the hell is this? And it was good. It's really good.
Yeah, that's except for one of them. It was produced by Suno. So you can tailor it to, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, your audience could handle this topic. I was remote viewed for fun a few years ago by someone on a different continent. Never met this person. And they told me like, XYZ, like you were doing this, you were doing this, you were doing that. I finally got to meet that person after the event. That was fascinating. That really was. That was a good conversation. So
she apologized, right?
Yeah, but it was nothing to apologize about, right? I thought it was awesome. Like I had personal proof, right? Nobody's going to believe me, but I have personal proof. Like I was remote viewed while working on my house on a ladder with headphones on, which was insane. I shouldn't have been wearing headphones on a ladder. And other things as well. So it was an interesting meeting, right? Maybe some people would react badly to being remote viewed and then told, oh, by the way, here's what you were doing. Yeah, they were rock solid hits, and they weren't.
Last time somebody tried to do that to me, I showed up in their dreams. So maybe
there's something to it. Some people, I think, have the gift.
Yeah, there's something to it. You want to take a 16-minute break for Lutnick? Have you seen my Lutnick video? Half my audience hates seeing it because I
don't know what that is
every week.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm
16 minutes.
I'm gonna load it up. I'm gonna load this sucker up. Just give me a second. Okay. You can talk over it. Actually, normally I just have to flip the screen, but here we go. You'll see. My audience has seen it 1,000 times, and it pisses them off half the time. But until Lutnick is gone, I'm going to keep playing it. Feel free to comment, though, because normally I just let the thing go.
Yeah, I've never seen this. So.
We had a gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation.
I don't know. I could ask you that question. I don't know of it, but I think here's the man right here.
Mr. President, I know you've urged people to move on, but I'm curious, why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story and so upset about how it's been handled? Why do you think that is?
The different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake, all that information was fake. But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible.
This is why we're
information,
getting disclosure.
Let them give it. Anything
This
that's
right
credible, I would say let them have it.
This is why we're getting disclosure. They have to push this off the airwaves. They have to. So we're
That's
gonna
why
get, we're gonna get
this is why
we're gonna get
like a
Roswell.
ritual. I show this every
Yeah.
single week.
We are going to get Roswell at one way or the other. I think they're going to have to just push this out. Did you make this video, or is this something else somebody made?
Yeah, I made it. Yeah.
And he's all over the files. Wow. His laugh is very rehearsed, very fake, very artificial.
Jeffrey Epstein was your neighbor. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about him. He's
He laughs the same way every time.
He was your neighbor for 10 years. How well did you know him?
All right, so
Total
we are
scumbag.
in number 11, and he lives in number 9.
Right.
So we renovate, we buy our house, and our house is pigeons and mice.
Right.
Okay, that's it. It was derelict.
Right.
So we rebuild our house. We move in 2005. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein is arrested in like 08, I think, or something like that.
Right.
So knock on the door. His assistant on like a Saturday says, Mr. Epstein, your neighbor would like to invite you over for coffee. So my wife and I go next door. You know, we walk the 7 steps,
Yes.
right, to the next house for coffee. We share a wall.
Right.
Right. So it's in New York City. So he invites us in. We have coffee in this, and he says, do you want a tour? We said, great. He's
Interesting.
got a really big house.
Every room you went into?
He's got, well, I'll tell you. So his house is like super big, really wide. And so he gives me a tour in the living room, big living room. And then across from it is double doors. I assume it's the dining room.
Yeah.
And he opens the door, and there's a massage table in the middle of the room.
Ooh.
And candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him,
Because I despise him. And he's just
Massage
showing who
table
he
in the
is.
middle
That's
of your
why I'm
house?
smirking.
how often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he like gets like weirdly close to me.
Ooh.
And he says, and the right kind of massage.
Ooh.
Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, I'm sorry, we have to go. And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or for
What's your
even
point?
philanthropy. If that guy
What's
was
your
there,
point?
I wasn't going because he's gross.
Ah,
And so I look back at it as a gift.
yes.
He gave me a gift
Yes.
of a void. And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
So
that's
he
my
was-
story. A one and absolutely done.
Why did the Epstein files show you coordinating a meeting and planning a visit with Jeffrey Epstein on his private island in December 2012?
Thank you for the question. I'm glad to be here to make it clear that I met Jeffrey Epstein when I moved to a house next door to him in New York. Right? And I met him then. Over the next 14 years, I met him 2 other times that I can recall. 2 times. And that is none for 6 years. So 6 years later, I met him And then a year and a half after that, I met him, and never again. Probably the total, and you've seen all of these documents, of these millions and millions of documents, there may be 10 emails connecting me with him, probably about 10 emails connecting me with him over a 14-year period.
Yes, he was.
I did not have any relationship with him. I barely had anything to do with that person. Okay?
Secretary Lutnick, I think you understand the root of concern here. It's the way you described very emphatically your first encounter with him in his apartment, said you were disgusted, would never have any contact with him again. Did you in fact make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife, all together. We were on family vacation. We were not apart. To suggest there was anything untoward about that in 2012, I don't recall why we did it, but
Mr. Secretary, again, as I said, there's not an indication that you yourself engaged in any wrongdoing with Jeffrey Epstein. It's the fact that you believe that you misled the country and the Congress based on your earlier statements, suggesting that you cut off all contact when in fact you had not. When you visited the private island, did you see anything inappropriate during that visit?
The only thing I saw with my wife and my children and the other couple and their children was staff who worked for Mr. Epstein on that island.
And you realize that, this visit took place after he'd been convicted, right? I mean, you made a very big point of saying that you sensed that this was a bad person in 2005. And then, of course, in 2008, he was convicted of soliciting prostitution of a minor. And yet you went and had this trip and other interactions. Did you have a dinner in Epstein's New York City home in 2011?
No.
So the information that suggests that there was a dinner with Woody Allen and Woody Allen's spouse at the Epstein residence, that's there's nothing to that. Is that right?
I actually don't know what you're referring to. There was, look, I looked through the millions of documents for my name, just like everybody else. And what I found was there was a document that says that I had a meeting with him in May, I think, for an hour at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Not dinner or otherwise, for an hour at 5 o'clock.
All right. There's also a reference to the fact that Epstein had expressed an interest in meeting your nanny. Do you know whether Jeffrey Epstein ever met with your nanny?
No, I saw that. I had no idea what that was about. It had nothing to do with me.
No
as far as
interaction
I
at
know.
all between them.
No, as far as I know, no.
Would you, Mr. Secretary, be willing to ensure that the file is complete to share with this committee and the Congress your own records, any records you have that relate to Jeffrey Epstein?
I will surely talk about that. I hadn't thought about that. I have nothing to hide. Absolutely nothing.
Right. So, I mean, that's an incredible story that you could pick up that he was a pervert.
It's gross. The guy's gross. Right with my wife. He's gross. The guy's gross. This was not, the deep nuance of Howard Lutnick. This guy's gross.
Right. So how come Bill Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not see what you saw? Or did they see it and ignore it? Or
no, they participated.
Right.
That's what his MO was, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money.
So what happened to those videos? Why is there now such a dearth of information when, Donald Trump's people are running the FBI and the DOJ?
I assume way back when, they traded those videos in exchange for him getting that 18-month sentence, which allowed him to have visits and be out of jail. I mean, he's a serial sex offender. How could he get 18 months and be able to go to his office during the day and have visitors and stuff? It must have been a trade.
That's a good question.
My
Dennis.
assumption, I have no knowledge.
Question I wonder every day.
My assumption is it was a trade for the videos because there were people on those videos.
And have you talked to Donald Trump about this and shared your theory?
No, I mean, he knows the story.
Right.
But my story, that, I was one and done with the guy. He knows that story, but... That's it.
He would have been interested in that story.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's a story. It's just a one and done. That guy. Ugh.
And did Trump feel the same way about him?
I don't speak to him about these kind of... These are just distractions.
Right.
The thing about the president is I'm doing the most important thing that I see. And then right after we do that, he does 10 other things that are as, if not more important, that are not my thing.
Right.
And you're like, wow. And he is great at it. And sometimes he lets me stay. So he lets me stay for the Joint Chiefs of Staff coming. Right. Like, this is like the coolest thing ever.
You sit here and you attack the president, and I am not going to have it. I'm not going to put up with it. All they want to do, the American people need to know this. They are talking about Epstein today. This has been around since the Obama administration. This administration released over 3 million pages of documents, over 3 million. And Donald Trump signed that law to release all of those documents. He is the most transparent president in the nation's history. And none of them
I've got video of it,
Merrick
actually.
Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan, committee will be in order.
Does this go on? How long does this go on, dude? Holy.
Secretary
16 minutes.
was testifying on the Hill. He said that he had visited.
Most of these clips I think I've seen on X at one time or another.
Children.
Yeah, it's
and
almost
that's
done.
after he said that he had cut ties with Epstein and Justice Department documents.
I mean,
contact with Epstein.
It's all about
2018
narrative control. So
the White House
it is a gift.
behind
It's sad. It's sad. It is a gift of disclosure.
what he
You
has
know.
said today. Has there been any shift in how the White House is viewing Secretary Lutnick's performance?
No, Secretary Lutnick remains a very important member of President Trump's team.
I don't
The
ex-
president fully supports the
I don't expect
secretary.
people to understand what I'm talking about, though.
What do you mean?
Yeah, obviously, at first
There he is
glance,
on
this has nothing to do with disclosure at first glance. But if you want to push this stuff out of the airwaves, what do? You flood the airwaves with UFOs. I mean, this goes back to, was it von Braun and him supposedly warning us that they could blue beam us and say that the aliens are real and all that stuff. So everybody, I'm sure, I think it was Miss Rosen who claimed that blue beam. I'm sure everybody in this space on your show is probably familiar with that.
It's clear, right? Like it's a more dangerous secret to learn that all your elites are psychopaths. And
how do you fight? How do you fight that? You bring out a bigger secret disclosure, which is going to come out one way or the other anyway. You bring that out now, and now you're controlling the narrative on that, and then use that to drown out the real files, right? Drown that out.
And there are a bunch of other things that have been released too, right? The whole Fauci thing just went out.
Oh, that's a disaster. Yeah, that's just another disaster, right? That's warp speed.
The mainstream media is trying to avoid it. And she said what we all knew 5 years ago, that they created this virus and they unleashed it.
That's not a conspiracy theory at all. It was
whether or not like they deliberately unleashed it, but they deliberately created it and deliberately engaged in
biowarfare.
Research.
But to me, none of this makes any sense. Why would you give China, your supposed adversary, access to this technology?
Well, because what they did is they looked at all the treaties that we signed. We looked at all the. No, it does. We looked at all the.
To me, it makes no sense. To me, it makes no sense. It's crazy. It's crazy.
So what somebody said is like we want to do gain of function research, but all these bio warfare treaties say that we can't. But we signed them. They were bilateral treaties with the Soviet Union.
Outsource it to Ukraine, right? The biolabs in Ukraine. Why outsource it to China?
Union. So it doesn't violate the bilateral treaty because it's in the Soviet Union. Like it was just some clever lawyer.
It's my understanding. Well, I don't want to go into it on your show. You will get censored, so I'm not going to talk about it. But yeah. So we're fighting They're out there fighting files with files right now. So it's good for disclosure. We're going to get in our tranche soon. More vids, more fuzzy things moving around. It's going to be awesome.
You won't get any bodies though. That's for sure.
Yeah, you never know. Don't say never say never, right? It's just a matter of time. We all know. Grush just brought it up. We knew it before Grush, though. Frankly, let's be honest. Except for the Iran Contra thing, most of what he said we already knew in this domain thoroughly. It's been covered endlessly. We know they got the occupants. We know they got the flight suits, right? There were thousands of pieces of catalog material that are retrieved
CJ
from
Cobra
the crashes.
Commander 84 says more monochrome videos of dots.
Dots.
Yeah, pretty much more monochrome video of dots. Correct. We're gonna get more of that, I think.
Yeah, the thing is, it doesn't matter what my opinion, doesn't matter what videos they give us, they will not be believed. They could be the most sharpest, clearest video. It could be a saucer landing and then a gray or a Nordic walking out and greeting the camera people. Nobody believe it. It's not going to happen. So they might as well just release everything because it won't be believed. What's the point? What's the difference?
But they were also seeding stuff that were debunks in that. You noticed that too, right?
I haven't. I'll be honest with you. I've tuned out of the trenches right now. I'm going to let it bake. I always do this. I want to look at it after the fact, and then I'll sort through it later once more advanced AI comes online. Right now, let's let it bake. Let's see what they're doing. Right. Let's see what's going on.
I mean, the only thing, and this is so sound negative, but it's really positive. The only thing that gives me hope is the fact that they did a psychological evaluation of the population, how they would react. That's the only thing that they seriously like. And then
no, they're serious. I mean, and think about it. Like they don't want to recommend disclosing, and then a segment of the population starts shooting stuff up. That'd be horrible. It would be bad, right? So I don't think that'll happen now. Like I was talking earlier, nobody gives a shit. Just fuzzy vids, dots, whatever. It's not real. Anything, half the populace, at least hates Trump, right? They're not going to believe anything he says. So if he comes out and talks about Roswell, it's a Republican conspiracy or something. It's just not going to, vast right-wing conspiracy. I think that's what Hillary called it. Not this topic, but something else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you would have to get Trump and somebody from the Democratic side to be flanking him So he came out and made, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And by the way, you know what's weird? The Majestic documents,
having like Schumer or somebody of that stature, right?
There's certain Majestic documents that talk about the Roswell crash and the immediate aftermath, right? You can go to majesticdocuments.com and read them. And in those documents, it talks about how the populace wouldn't believe if it was disclosed, and they would think it's just the administration trying to get, political points or something. Like this is an age-old topic, right?
By the way, this is a good point. Have you seen this? I've seen this mentioned, but I have no idea what the truth of it is.
I have not gotten any jabs for what it's worth, so I guess I'm still human. I have no.
But there's some.
I'm an OSN person. I watched this from the very beginning, and I knew that warp speed was going too fast.
Yeah, but there's a theory.
Be careful what you say, by the way, because be careful what you say.
There's information out there. Again, I'm not endorsing this because I have not like studied this. I don't know if it's true.
Yeah, I'm not getting on there.
There was something on X saying that the Supreme Court made a ruling that said people who got that treatment were no longer classified as humans.
Yeah, it sounds sketchy.
It sounds crazy.
God, if they're not human, they don't have to pay taxes anymore, right? Once you stop paying your taxes, they're gonna get up your ass, and you're gonna go to jail. So
yeah.
You're still human. I would relax.
There may have been something that said it's a conspiracy theory, but I can't remember.
That's very much tinfoil hat, I think. No, you still have to pay your taxes. I'm sorry, you're human.
That's a good point. If that were real, that's exactly.
Yeah, it's not real. It's bullshit. Not everything on X is real.
Let's see. Well, come back. I've been here for years. Little LL Cool
J. You have
long
long live streams. You must have a dedicated audience that listens to this. It's like
we got 3 minutes.
Art Bell at 3 a.m. kind of audience.
We got 3 minutes.
You need to start taking calls, Sean, like Art Bell did. I think that would make it more. You do have like these.
I would if there was if there was capability to do that on StreamYard, but there's not.
Oh, there's always a way. Get a speakerphone, bro.
What I could do is I could send someone like a link, like I sent you, and then they could come.
There's got to be. Listen, just get another.
I've done it before. I call it open lines.
You need open lines, and then the dude from Area 51 could start calling, right? Be filling you in on what's going on.
Yeah, but they don't call. Like they have to show their face. They show up like you do.
No, you need old fashioned phone lines. Maybe I'm old fashioned, but you need that dude calling. He just got out of the lab, right? He just left. He's scared out of his mind. You need that. You gotta be like Art Bell. I keep trying to give this guy advice. I keep telling him do this, do that, try this, try that. I watch other channels on YouTube, and he doesn't do it. He's a stick in the mud.
WhatsApp and but I avoid Facebook like the plague.
You need old fashioned phone lines, dude. Somebody calling their phone, from Area 51 right after leaving the base.
Actually, I could just ask Gnostic Neil because I'm on like a text stream with him. So it just puts a link and then talks to whoever clicks on it.
You never know who'll call, right? You might get a legit call. Somebody just got out of an alien interrogation, right? They're gonna
or you get somebody who's
doesn't matter. Wait, how do you know? It's very Fordian. It's very Fordian. You don't know. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's part of the show. This show must go on. It doesn't matter. Some percent are going to be not real. So what?
Just get
a burner phone.
That's I didn't want to give out my number for like random people to call, and then you get on.
He's not recommended. Your audience is going to start calling you on your phone. Start texting you.
All right, Rich. Any final word? We got like a minute.
I thought thanks a lot, Sean, for inviting me. I liked going to this event. I thought it was awesome. I think they were very professional.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to go to it, and thank you for keeping me.
Yeah, I was invited. You were invited. I thought it was great. So I thank them for putting it on, putting all the effort into it.
Although our invites didn't matter when they asked if we were invited, and they checked the list.
No, we got in the line. We were in the second line. We were cool. It was fine. You had to show up early, dude. We did.
Yeah, we did. There would have still been seats, though. It wasn't too bad.
There's plenty of seats. It was no big deal.
Anyway.
Thanks, everybody.
What is this? All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next week. Maybe I'll try open lines somehow. We'll we'll see. So
Bye-bye.
thank you again, everyone. Bye.